everyone. Today I am interviewing Lyndsy from Spectrum Able. She is a holistic nutritionist and a GAPS coach and a mom and a wife and really just does it all. She's had a really, really amazing recovery journey from her son who used to be nonverbal. She would say he was severely autistic, and through real food and a ton of holistic therapies, she's seen some drastic improvements in his speech, everything. So yeah, I'll just let Lyndsy introduce herself real quick.
Hi, Heather. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm so excited to be here and to share my story. And yeah, my son, he used to have really severe autism. He was nonverbal until 5. He was in diapers. He had very limited eye contact. He would sit in a corner and spin wheels for hours at a time and couldn't sleep through the night, couldn't sleep for more than 4 hours at a time, was like the pickiest eater in the whole world, was afraid of different textures and afraid of loud noises and didn't like to wear clothes, and so many sensory issues, and life was really, really difficult. And I was searching for anything and everything to help my son and to, help myself and help my family, because life was really miserable. He would just scream like hundreds and hundreds of times a day and hit himself and bang his head on the floor. And we had already been doing gluten-free, dairy-free, and sugar-free for 2 years, and experimenting with like paleo and candida diets. And I felt like everything we did helped a little bit. Like his eye contact started to come back at 3, and he started to smile again. His emotional response returned. And like, I saw these little signs that made me feel like I was on the right track, and these changes I was making were helping, but it just still wasn't enough. Like I said, at 5, he was still in a very, very severe state, even with everything I had done for 2 years. And then I found the GAPS diet and I put him on this program, and it was absolutely life-changing. And within 6 months, he was talking in sentences, making his own sentences. All his sensory issues disappeared. Fully potty trained, never had an accident, went to sleeping 10 to 12 hours a night.
Amazing.
Social, like, oh my God. And it's just gotten better and better ever since.
So when did you notice that something maybe wasn't right in the early stages, like something was off?
Oh gosh, ultimately I have to say it was when he was 5 months old, and he got 6 vaccines in one wellness visit. And
We'll blurb that.
and he went lethargic, and he didn't really move much for like a week. He got 106-degree fever. I was freaking out. They told me to give him infant Tylenol, which was one of the worst mistakes, one of the worst things I could have done. Looking back on it, it was basically instant autism.
Oh, wow.
Gosh, it's painful to even think about it.
I feel pain when I hear it. I'm like, oh, that was worst.
Yeah. And I didn't really know what happened at the time. I didn't, he was 5 months old. He was the first child I'd ever held. I was 21. I was a young mother. I didn't know what vaccine injury was. I didn't know what autism was. And so when he started moving again after, a week or so, and got out of the lethargy that it put him in, I was just happy he was moving again. But I didn't know what really, really happened at the time, but I didn't realize he had autism until he was 3. And I went to doctors, and I brought up, I brought up concerns that I had, because he was different than the other kids, and they just brushed off my concerns. Was like, he's totally healthy, picky eating is normal, just like all the concerns brushed off. And then, so, I was extremely upset when I found out at 3 years old that it was an epidemic. And that it was now going to take me 9 months for my son to get seen in San Diego, because they were that backed up with diagnoses. So I wasn't going to be the mom who was going to sit around and wait for a diagnosis, wait 9 months to get started. So I got right on the internet, and I started Googling, and I found books that talked about healing and recovery. And I found like YouTube videos of children that were like before and after, just like miraculous. And for the first time, I learned what was in our food. I mean, I'm ashamed, and embarrassed to say, like, at 21 years old, we were still eating fast food. And, I grew up on fast food and processed food, and I didn't know. So I started to learn that I was poisoning. I learned I was poisoning my child with everything, with the food, with the environment, with the shampoo, with the cell phones, everything. I was shocked. Yeah. Because at 3, he started having these like severe meltdowns, and he would like run. He was a runner. You'd go to the playground and he would just run away the other direction, or you'd take him to the petting zoo and he would just like put sand on his head, or you'd take him to the beach and he'd just run into the water and try to drown himself, and you'd pull him out and he'd just do it again. And like, he just didn't have like this awareness. It was really, really difficult. And so I think it was he was eating that made it worse and worse and worse until it was just like in my face, so severe.
What would a typical day be like for you watching him being his caregiver? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Did he sleep through the night?
No, I mean, it's at his worst back then at 3. I remember, like taking him to the playground and him not playing with the other kids. Him, I'd go meet up for play dates with my friends and their kids would be playing on the slide and the swing, and Dominic would just run the other way. And so I couldn't stay and talk to my friends. I have to run and go back and get him and pick him up, and he'd just kick and scream the whole way back to the playground. I stopped having friends over. I started, stopped doing play dates. Like I said, I'd go to the beach and I couldn't sit down for a minute, and he would just keep trying to drown himself. I used to have to like lock him in his room at night, like, because if you didn't, he would leave in the middle of the night. I'd read stories about kids getting lost and walking out. Like in we had a 2-story house one time, and I had to lock the window because he tried to climb out of the window one time. I mean, it was insane. We couldn't get babysitters. You don't want other people to watch your kid. Like, I can
imagine the level of stress you would have just been in all the time.
Yeah, I found meditation when he was 3 because I was under so much stress. And I used to work. I used to have a job. Now I work from home. I run my own business. But back then I worked, 40 hours a week. I was the breadwinner of my house. And that probably provided me a lot of stress relief. But then, I found meditation because I was seeking something. I was seeking something to help me with the stress. And it was life-changing.
Yeah, definitely. I love, I don't know a ton about, mindset and everything, but it's something I've been looking into a lot more recently. And I love that you emphasize that, because I think it's really crucial how you say things, what you're speaking, how you're thinking about things. So I think that's a really cool part of just a little bit that I've seen of like your course and, things that you bring to the community. So how did you find gaps? You said you did like a little anti-candida and some other things, gluten-free, casein-free.
Yeah. The first thing I found when he was 3 was the gluten-free. I think that was the first thing to go: gluten and dairy and sugar. I think those are the 3 top like demonized foods in the autism community. But like, which I said, his eye contact started to come back, but it was only for like a second at a time. But us moms, like, we notice everything. We know everything. We see it before other people. We see the changes. We're with our kids all the time. And I remember him looking back after like 3 weeks of being on that diet: gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free. And but he had no emotional response. So it was like heartbreaking, because it was like empty, like this, like no emotion. It was really weird. Yeah. But 3 months later, his emotions started to come back. He started to smile back at me. And so I felt like I was on the right track. But then I started reading ingredients, and I went and bought out all these supplements and all this new food. But then I started reading ingredients, and I learned that all these supplements I bought had like artificial colors in them or different additives I was trying to avoid. I learned that they were synthetic vitamins and had dairy in some of these vitamins. And I learned that like the gluten-free waffles I was buying had GMOs and pesticides, like things that they don't label. And I just started learning so much. And it was just, I started seeing how the system was really deceptive and flawed and just filled with lies and misinformation and misdirection. And so I didn't find gaps until he was 4. When he was 4, I actually moved to Oregon and I started working with Dr. Green. And it was one of those things, like, I think the first time I heard about it was checking out of Whole Foods. Like this woman, people would talk to me about the food I was buying. Like people still do, you know, they're like, oh, what are you getting all these avocados for? I'm like, to eat them, you know, but people have always been drawn to the interesting types of foods that I buy for the amount. And I would talk to everybody I still do about, you know, my journey with my son. And this woman mentioned like, oh, the GAPS diet. And then I joined this study for Qigong massage because I didn't have a lot of money and I was looking for ways to help my son, like I said, and I found government studies. You can search like what studies are going on near you and you can get some of the best technology, some of the best doctors in the world. There's lots of holistic studies too. So I would look for holistic studies that I could participate in. And I found this one called Qigong massage, and it's about like tapping, and it uses ancient Chinese massage therapy, and it's 12 steps. And this program was created for parents of children with autism. And so we got in this study and they mentioned gaps, and it was just like one of those things I kept hearing. And then Dr. Green mentioned gaps. And I think like the universe works in that way. And somebody once told me that like the things you need to hear, like, I don't know, she told me I was like researching and studying too much and that I could just kind of relax, and like that the things I needed to hear would, you know, somebody would tell me or I would see it, or like, you know, and then it would keep coming. The message will keep coming. Like if you need to hear it again, you know, and so it was one of those things that just stuck out to me. But when I did put him on the diet when he was 4, actually, before like the big 6-month change, and I started working with Dr. Green, and Dominic started healing and doing better than ever before, and he was doing amazing. But my daughter had a birthday party, and everything I cooked was like paleo and healthy and GAPS and sugar free and like perfect. And then my mom picked up this like giant tray of like cheese and crackers from Safeway before the party with like 100 ingredients on it, like the worst stuff you could imagine. Like, and Dominic ate the whole tray while we were opening presents in the other room, and he regressed like 6 months worth of work, like all my money. I just gave Dr. Green all my money. We ran all these tests. Dr. Green showed me that Dominic was off the charts with heavy metals, had over 20 food allergies, had higher levels of inflammation than cancer patients. Like Dr. Green showed me so much on paper, and he told me all the things that I, you know, thought were going on. He told me that was real and that we could heal my son. And he had worked with over 3,000 children and adults with autism and helped hundreds of them lose their diagnosis and recover. So he was an amazing part of our journey. But yeah, Dominic regressed after that. And so that was a big setback. But we got back on the horse when he was 5, and yeah, had those dramatic results again.
So did it take 6 months to get back to that stage?
What was that?
When he regressed after the birthday party, did it take 6 months to get back to where you were previously?
I basically gave it up, and I stopped doing it. And I remember like going through like a drive-through after that point. Like it was a low point. Like I want to cry right now, and like ordered him French fries, and like,
yeah,
it was just like so hard. Like life was so hard back then, like, you know, and like honestly at that point nobody believed in me at the time. So it's like I had this boyfriend at the time, and like he didn't believe in it. Like nobody believed in it. And like I didn't know. I remember we broke up and I was living with him, and like I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know like what I was going to do. Like everybody thought it was like a joke, like me trying to heal my son. And with that big regression, like everybody just thinks you're a joke. You like see all this progress and you tell people and then they just like regress it. And it's just like, I don't know, it just felt like it was me against the world. I just felt
Totally.
like
I think a lot of parents feel like that. A lot of parents that, because I'm a GAPS practitioner, so I talk to parents, and one of the first things I say is you have to be on the same page, because if the page in the dad doesn't, it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah. I remember like praying to die. I remember like just wanting to die. Like I didn't know where I was going to live. Like I said, I had to move out and I was just like at the lowest point in my life. I was 24 years old, maybe 25 years old. My son was 5, almost 5. And my daughter was 2. And I was like praying to die just to like, cause I just didn't like, my life was so miserable. Like my son would just scream and hit himself and, and nobody got it. Everybody thought I was crazy. I'm like telling people what I'm doing and everybody just thinks I'm nuts. Like my mom would shame me trying to feed my son healthy foods. She'd tell me like, you don't love him. Like I was adopted. And anyways, I just, there's so many things beyond the food, the society. And then like I was working 2 jobs and Dominic would be in like daycare and even the school of autism I was driving him to, and they couldn't keep him out of other kids' food at lunch. So it's just like, you just can't win. It was so bad. And to do GAPS, yeah, we would have had to be doing it 100%. It's like, you can't get I do tell people like it's better to do 80% than 0%, sure. But at the state that he was in, like it was just so miserable.
So when you started GAPS, did you start intro or full GAPS? And like, he couldn't go to kindergarten or things like that at that point? He would have had to stay home.
Yeah, so I ended up meeting my partner after that, and we put Dominic on intro. And we stayed there for a few months. And yeah, every time we tried to like add in a new food and move to the next stage, he would regress. And so we had to stay on the first few stages for like 6 months. And yeah, and it was just amazing. He did better than ever.
Wow. Did you have any foods that he couldn't handle? Like, did you have a lot of die-off? Did you feel, die-off? Or what was that like for you?
Yeah, it was really intense. He used to have like really bad acne all over like his butt. And I remember in the beginning, he even was like bleeding out of his shoulders when we did the Candida diet, and you could just like see the die-off happening. And you could just see it coming out of his body. And now he has like super clear skin, and he used to have like an extended gut and be constipated for like 9 days at a time. And you'd have to give him enemas. And like when I started learning about this stuff and counting, and I was like, oh my God, he's not going to the bathroom. Like, yeah, it was really wild. It was really wild. That's why I became a coach and started helping other people, because there's not a lot of support, that keeps people from being successful in the journey. The lack of support, the lack of good information.
Because you're like, is this die-off? Is this a food allergy? Is this a regression? Should we get off it? So yeah, it can be really confusing.
And we're terrified to do something wrong. So a lot of people just stay doing all the wrong things just because they're terrified, just because they don't have the support to move forward.
Definitely. Well, I have to say, hearing about the people who didn't support you and you thought you were crazy. If you haven't, people who are watching, Lyndsy has a YouTube channel called Spectrum Able, and she has a video of her son before and after. So it's before her son Dominic on a processed food diet, and then she shows, I'm not sure if it's be a year in between, him on like GAPS and Whole Foods, and it's like a different child. I mean, it's amazing. You did such a good job. I was like, my husband, it was so cool.
It's so amazing. And I'm going to make a new video soon. That video is like almost 5 years old now, and he's 12 today. And him and my daughter are off at Earth School right now for like a 6 6-hour day and no aid, you know, it's just we homeschool now, and it's a homeschool like co-op. They go and hike through forests and jump off waterfalls and build fires, and it's like very nature-based homeschool. And he loved it, and he's so social, and he talks to everybody. He goes right up to people. Hi, how are you? What's your name? He introduces himself, hugs people. He's so loving. He's so kind. He's so happy. He's so grateful. He's so proud of himself. He's so creative. Like, I get so much joy every single day from this kid, like just talking, you know, but on top of that, he's all these other amazing things. And he's so talented. He plays multiple instruments. He plays piano and sings to me. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I have to just keep sharing this message with people because it's just so life-changing.
There's hope. Yeah, that's so cool. When you started the diet for him, was he resistant to it? Like he hate the foods?
Oh yeah, he would. Yeah, especially in the beginning, he would scream, have meltdowns. We had to do all kinds of different ways to introduce it. I remember all kinds of different things I did to get creative. You know, I remember blending in like white cauliflower in with eggs in the blender and then scrambling it and making sure it didn't look any different. Because in the beginning, like if he saw you tampering with his food, he wouldn't eat it, or if the color was different or the smell or anything was different, he wouldn't eat it. So I remember like starting with just a drop, just introducing 1 drop of bone broth, 1 drop of sauerkraut, and then the next meal 2 drops, and then 3 drops. And the more you sneak these foods in, these kids, they start to heal and they start to crave these foods that they were afraid of before. And it's really incredible.
It's just amazing. I love it. So was there anything specific that helped in his journey? Anything you really noticed, like oil or organ meats or fats, or you know what I'm saying? Anything particular?
Gosh, I always felt like he was just such a responder that everything helped. I was like, almost everything
Cool.
helps. And that's kind of how I teach, is like, do everything you can. You know, do everything you can. And then when you can do more, do more. Like I've poured so much into him, and I give people permission to do that. And it's like, some of these kids, they need it. They need so much healing and it's not overnight, but if you're seeing progress, keep going, because it's just going to keep stacking and stacking and stacking. And it's a lifestyle. It's really a lifestyle. But I would say, like, I mean, people always ask me, like, what's the one thing, you know? And I always say, it's not one thing, it's everything. But
everything in your life, that's the one thing.
Everything. But if there was one thing, if I was going to say it's one thing, I would say it is the mindset, and it is the belief systems. At the end of the day, it's the energy, and the one thing that's helped my son more than anything. And, you know, I tell people, like, you could be doing the diet and the detox, but if you're crying and you're angry at the world and you're depressed and you don't believe, like, your energy is going to affect your child more than anything else you do, you know? So yeah, just believing in your child's healing, just believing and having that faith, and having having that belief, that positive believing in your child, believing in them, like not referring to them as like nonverbal and just giving up, you know, like that. I used to tell Dominic before he would talk, tell him, you're going to talk so well someday. You're going to talk amazing. You're going to talk just like mommy and daddy and sister. You're going to talk better. Even though you're getting a late start, your brain is so amazing. You're going to be able to articulate it even better, you know, and express yourself. And oh my gosh, he does. He's like, has what's it called, when people can play music, he's
like by ear.
Yeah, he has that, like, and he can articulate and like all the things. Yeah, all the things. So I think it's like really our beliefs, you know. It's like if you want, like he needs to believe in himself, not just me. I needed to make sure he believed that he could talk. If I taught everybody, oh, my son's nonverbal, oh, Dominic's nonverbal, and I never tried to work with him, and I never tried to challenge him and get him to ask for things, even though I knew what he wanted, asking him to say it, believing in him that he could, like all of that is number one.
I'm reading a book right now called Switch on Your Brain. Have you heard of Dr. Caroline Leaf?
I haven't.
Okay, so she's she's got a lot of titles, but she's worked with a lot of patients that are like in a vegetable state, you know, sort of like a coma or traumatic brain injury. And she's very into your thoughts, that like, and the science behind it. That's what she studied. And she has some really cool stories of, you know, people with traumatic brain injury, and they've been given the diagnosis of you'll be a vegetable for life. And through her, you know, mindfulness, intentionality, all that, like their recovery has been amazing. They go on to complete school and do all these things that they would have, you know, and it's all believing in themselves and believing that they can do it. That the mind is, it's basically like the brain isn't just a fixed organ. Your mind is your brain structure, and it causes, you know, proteins and neurons and everything to grow. And it's just really cool. It's like the things that we think are impossible. So I love that, the mindset. And it's not just your mindset, like you said, talking to your child, making them believe in it. So cool.
Yeah, because I'm the creator of my life and my experience and my reality. But yeah, I realized like my son, his beliefs are important too. I need to make sure he believes. And guess what? Kids believe their parents. When they're little, we believe what our parents say. We think they're practically God, right? And so I knew that. So I was like, okay, he's going to believe what I tell him. I made sure I raised both my kids that way. I give them all of that. And I think we all need that, even as adults. Like I do that with my coaching clients. I believe in them. And when you have somebody who believes in you, it helps you believe in yourself. Like sometimes we need somebody else to believe in us first.
Yeah.
Powerful. Great. We don't always, but it can help.
Yeah, it's really wise. So I'm guessing everyone would be dying to know what your son eats today. What's his diet like?
Yeah, he basically eats like a full GAPS diet mostly. And I still try to incorporate lots of intro meals. I think it's always important to incorporate intro foods. But even every now and again, he has some foods that are not GAPS. Like brown rice crackers or, you know, something like that. Or sometimes I'll make rice or, but not often, or like black beans or something, but not a lot. And yeah, he doesn't react to any foods anymore, but we try to stay on GAPS because I just think it's what helps us all really like perform our best and feel our best.
The cool thing too is I've worked with people who, similar to, they've done like an anti-candida diet or something, and it gives great results. But as soon as you introduce a piece of fruit, all comes back because it's not healing the gut lining. So that is proof that GAPS really does heal the gut lining, because then you can, you know, like you said, you don't do it all the time, but when you do add in something, it's not a full-on regression. Where I worked with people who they've lost a ton of hope because you put 2 years into like a anti-candida diet, and then you're not healing the gut lining, so you're not actually solving the root issue.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, today I packed him a couple packs of seaweed for lunch and some macadamia nuts and some carrots and some homemade hummus and an apple. So I was trying to, it's a little harder like for packing things to go, but
definitely
I'm excited to start doing it more too, because I know people really struggle with that. And so now that my kids are going somewhere, I'm like, I get to practice and play more with it. So I'm excited.
Oh, that's so amazing. It's really encouraging. I just love hearing all of that. I love the positive change, the mind frame. Yeah, and that he's doing so well and thriving. And my husband's a piano player too, so that's really cool. And it's not easy. I look at it, that's not an easy thing to learn, I don't think. So I have one last question. I really, really appreciate your time. If there was a mom and she was looking at your story and she saw your videos and she was like, wow, I'm in a similar situation with my son. I really want to do that. I just don't know if I can. I don't know if I can do gaps. What would you say to her?
Well, I would say that she can do whatever she can convince herself to believe that she can do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if she's not able to convince herself that she can, but it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But honestly, it's really not that hard. Again, it goes back to our belief systems, which is why my course, Spectrum Able, which I would probably recommend her get into and at least give it a try. I have a 30-day full money back guarantee for anybody who it doesn't work for. So I just want people, to give it a try. And most people, honestly, it changes their lives. Like, I have the most incredible testimonials come out of this course. Kids are potty trained, speaking in sentences, saying I love you, saying mom for the first time in like 1 to 2 weeks on this course, with something just like a couple changes. I tell everybody, you don't have to be doing 100% right off the bat, but sometimes just a few changes can lead really big results when you're making the right changes.
So tell us about Spectrum Able. What is it?
Yeah, it's my course that I've created for parents like in the shoes that I used to be in, who want to help their kids. And I have this whole program. It's spectrumable.com. You can check it out, and it explains everything you get on there. But you get 6 weeks of GAPS meal plans and recipes and shopping lists and everything step by step, what to do each day, what to eat for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, dessert, detox bath recipes, mindset videos, all the things that you need really to be successful on this journey, plus lots of other recovery stories. I have like tons of stuff in this program. So other recovery stories to keep you inspired and motivated, and to increase your belief that healing is real, healing is possible. When you see other people do it, it increases our belief in it. And there's also a Qigong massage training in there. So I teach the Qigong massage that I was trained on, the energy healing. There's a hypnosis in there to help rewire your subconscious mind. And there's so much. There's so much in there.
Very holistic, going at it from every different angle.
Yeah. Like I say, to do it all. And I even educate about other types of healing, because I don't think, that there's just one thing. I think there's so many healing things out there, and, like homeopathy, or I educate about the ACC, or all kinds of different things, and how to find a good doctor, and I have a supplement guide with the best supplements, because a lot of supplements, like we said, are synthetic and have tons of additives. It's hard to find good supplements. So I have like the best resource I put together.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it literally, the supplement guidebook is just life-changing in itself. Just that one resource, if like that's all you did. And for people who don't want to do the whole diet, you can sometimes just start with a supplement. Just start anywhere.
But maybe, and then the goal is maybe they do, and they see a little bit of change, the encouragement they need to keep going, and add in a few foods. And
that's what's great about like the one-on-one coaching too, because I can like work with people where they are. I mean, you can start with switching out your laundry detergent, getting rid of your toxic dryer sheets. Like, we can either add in or we can remove. I feel like half the journey is things to add in, and the other half removal.
Yeah.
But also with beliefs, believing that you can. If you don't believe you can, then you've got to start there.
That is a good point, because we're thinking all day long. So if you can't change that, you're gonna, just in every area of your life, even if it's just things in life, it can be hell if you just don't catch your thoughts and let them, you let them go for you.
I have a fun story for you if you have a few minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, earlier when I was sharing with you about how my life was like the lowest point, when I didn't know where I was going to live and I just was wanting it to be over, I the day after I was like praying for it to end, the next day I was driving by this thrift store called Good Karma. And there was like a voice inside of me that said to go in the store. And it was really weird because I wasn't in a position to be shopping or anything, but I just followed that voice. And the store was really dingy, but there was this pile of books. And on the top of the pile was this book called The Secret. And I felt like it was just waiting for me. And it was $2, and I bought the book and I read it, and it told me that my beliefs create my reality. All our beliefs create our physical reality with a time delay, and that the only thing that creates lack in this world is the belief of lack, right? And that there's more than enough abundance for everybody. So anyways, I had nothing to lose at this point, and I had already been meditating, and so I had some skills with that, and I started meditating again, and I believed this book. I believed everything it said. I had nothing to lose, so I put it into action. And when I got a negative thought, that my life's over, nobody's gonna want me, I'm 25 with 2 kids under the age of 5 and one that screams 500 times a day, and what am I going to do? I said, I'm going to meet the most amazing man, the most compassionate, most intelligent man who's going to help me heal my son. Like, I just started changing all my thoughts that weren't serving me to what I wanted. 2 weeks later, I met my now husband.
Wow.
We fell in love. He said that God talked to him, like he knew I was going to be his wife. Like, he fell in love with my son. I brought my kids to meet him on our 3rd date. He said it was the best date he ever had. He'd always wanted a family. Like, we moved in, he installed a bathtub so Dominic could do detox baths. And he was like, you're going to stay home and cook for the kids. I finally had an opportunity to now like learn gaps and be with my kids full time. He gave me breaks with Dominic. He was like, he knew, he was the first person I ever met that believed I could heal my son.
Yeah. Oh, that's life
And
changing.
he was like, we're going to do it together. And then 6 months later, we moved to Maui. And rest is history. Yeah, we put Dominic on gaps. He started healing. We moved to Maui. I built a business helping other people. And it's like, I just really, really believe that our beliefs really do create our reality. And it really is like the number one thing. So I just wanted to share that story with you because that's launched me into the spirituality and into the power of our beliefs. Because at that time it felt like the world was so negative and everything, it was too hard. But finding that book, it just changed everything. Changing your perspective, changing your words, changing your beliefs, changing your energy. It's been everything for me. And I've taught this to other people and it's changed their lives too. So just wanted to share that.
Yeah, I love that. And even like in the Bible, it says life and death are in the power of the tongue. Choose life. Or it says like blessing and curse are before you. Like choose blessing, there's so many options and there are options for everything. And I 100% agree. Mindset, what we're speaking out, what we're believing changes our reality. Very cool.
Yeah. And it says, ask, believe, and you will receive. And I see lots of similarities in the Bible. And yeah, I feel that this has been a very spiritual journey for me more than anything. And reconnecting with my food has helped me reconnect to God. And
yeah,
it's been great.
Well, I love gaps too, because it's like what we're designed to eat. It's not hard. It's like what grows, what we're supposed to eat. It's animals. It's not like these crazy specific things that are created in the lab. Are food-based, cod liver oil, things like that, or ox bile. And then there are some that, are a little bit more intense that we need today, but it's so just like basic.
And so much of it I learned is like our cultural conditioning, because I thought it was like weird to give my kids liver and give them raw eggs, but they love it. Even my daughter and my son, they both love raw eggs. And it's still a little weird to me. Like, I'll put raw eggs in my ice cream and in certain things, but it's hard for me. But I don't let my cultural conditionings like interfere with how I feed my kids. And so I offer it to them. They love it. And so I love that I'm raising them with a better nutritional mindset than I had growing up.
Same story. My daughter is so funny. She gets up and she's like, can I have some cod liver oil? And I'm like, really? Like I'm like choking it down with orange juice, and she's like, more, more. So funny.
Same. I remember the first 3 days I gave Dominic cod liver oil. I squirted it in his mouth with a syringe. He spit it up everywhere. 3 days I did this and just cleaned it up. On the 4th day, he was grabbing it out of the cabinet and chugging it and trying to drink the whole thing down, and loves it. And now he loves spirulina. He loves to chew it too. And like, I can't.
So funny.
But
they're intuitive. They know.
yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Yeah, they know it makes them feel better. That's what I think.
So cool. So cool. Well, thank you so much, Lyndsy. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I really appreciate it. I'm really excited because I do want to encourage a lot of moms who are like, maybe they've heard of GAPS, but they need to hear that story and they need to see it and hear from a mom what it's like, because I'm sure a lot of them have been in the same position of feeling like, I just want my life to be over. Like, this is too hard. I can't do it. Feeling like, or even just feeling like a victim, you know, that word gets a bad rap, but like going to many doctors and everyone just saying, this is your lot in life. It's like, I think we need to get these stories out there and give people hope, because while you've put so much into it, very impressive, you're not special, you know, like anyone can do it and anyone can make the changes. I'm just so excited to hear such a positive story. And yeah, okay, I have one last question, sorry. What was Dominic's first word that he spoke?
His first word? Mom.
Did you cry?
When yes, and when we started doing baking soda, when we added baking soda to the detox baths, he said, "I love you" for the first time.
Oh,
That was a
wow.
special.
Oh, that's
but yes, it is true. I'm not special. Literally, if I can do this, anybody can do it. Literally, like I had no cooking skills at all. Everything was foreign to me. I am self-taught. I was just determined. Life was so miserable. I was determined to do anything. And I'm just glad I found what works, because there's so much different options to go and people don't know what way to go, but this is the way. So I'm so grateful to you. I love your channel. I'm so glad that you're sharing this message with other parents, and it's just awesome. So thank you so much for having me on today. And
of course. Where can we find you? You're on Instagram?
I'm on Instagram as Lyndsy Karrie and Spectrum Able. And I'm on Facebook, and I have my website.
Okay, so I'll put all the links in the blog. Yeah, and everyone go watch her video on her YouTube channel. I know it's 5 years old, but it's really, really, really encouraging. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
It's really good. It's inspired so many people. So I love that video, and I can't wait to make a new one and just like blow everybody's minds, because he's come so far since that video. So
okay, well, thanks so much, Lyndsy. I'm sorry I got to talk. I really appreciate your time.
You too. Thanks, Heather. Have a great day.
Hi, thanks for watching my video. You can feel free to comment or like below, or you can follow me on Instagram or on my website.